Hey Jaylen. Sorry it took forever in a day to get back to you. Um, let me go over here. Okay, so they're asking you to create a lesson plan. Um, I pulled up the standards from the Georgia Professional Standards. And if you look up here, you see georgiastandards.org. And I went to, I believe, English language arts. And then Gerard said you'll be teaching middle school. I clicked on that one and it brought me to the different grades. So I decided to go with eighth grade because you were talking about school uniforms or whatever. So you click on the standards and they will open up, and these, if you see me kind of stumbling over them, their standards, I don't know if it's middle school or if it's because language arts, their standard is different. I'm a social studies teacher, so our standards are not set up like this. But I was able to navigate through it. So since you're doing writing, as you can see in the blue up here, these are discussing reading. So we're going to scroll down and you see writing standards. All right. So in the yellow, it says text types and purposes. So I'm not sure if you remember back in high school, these standards were on the boards. I'm not sure if you paid attention to them, but you can have your opening. Your lesson looks good, but they're looking for more. Whoever your teacher or professor is looking for more. So you are going to introduce your lesson with saying, okay, so our standard for today is ELA, and then you'll pronounce the GSE 8, 8 meaning eighth grade, writing 1. So, which is write arguments to support claims with clear reasons and relevant evidence. So, like you are writing, your students will be doing a persuasive essay trying to convince people if uniforms are good or the pros and cons of uniforms. So, this is the actual standard. The lowercase letters are the elements. So by the end of the standard, by the end of your lesson, you want to cover every element. So your first element is A. Introduce claims, acknowledge and distinguish the claims from alternate or opposing claims, and organize the reasons and evidence logically. So with that, you're going to say your standard. I know it's long winded. You don't have to say what's in bold, but you say, okay, the standard, we are going to write arguments to support claims with clear reasons and relevant evidence. Then you're going to say, our element is, and you're going to reintroduce claims, acknowledge, blah, 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 blah. Now, they are looking for you to have a hook in education, meaning like you got to catch their attention. So I decided to pull a video from YouTube dealing with what your topic is should our school wear uniforms? And then if you can see the video is no more than 3 minutes and 14 seconds. When you are showing videos and you're being observed, you don't want a long video because it is making it seem as if the teacher is lazy. So I always aim for like 3 or 4 minutes. 5 is lengthy because your students' attention span is like 5 minutes. Okay, so you want to make sure you grab them before they started to get distracted by their phones, etc., etc. So you will play this 3 minute video. Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of it. Okay. Well, you can look at it at your own time. But I think that would be a good video as your hook to introduce your lesson, which is do school uniforms help students? Okay. Now you'll play that, and uh once you finish playing that, you will go over your lesson. All right. And so you'll jump into, all right, scholars. What material I need for this writing masterpiece? So right here, your writing teaser, that standard, the Georgia standard that I showed you, which is this right here, you will put this in your PowerPoint. Okay. So most teachers, don't matter, we all put this in our PowerPoint because you're re-exposing your students to what the lesson is about. So you can copy and paste it and make sure you put it in your lesson. Now, you probably gonna, by the time you might change, the writing teaser, you might just put, let me see, enable editing. So let me show you. I'm a visual learner, so I'm gonna break it down, showing you how I teach my students. So hope I'm not being long-winded. But again, you're not in my content, so excuse me. Being goofy. All right, so I'm gonna copy and paste this. Copy, go back to your original PowerPoint. Boom. That is how like that's what they're looking for. Make this big. So kind of make it a little so I hope this is making sense to you. We'll do 28 and then it's just I'm recording. Bye. Move. I'm recording. All right. And so you see how it is? ELA Georgia Standard. That's what it is. ELA Georgia Standard, 8th grade, W1. All right. Write arguments to support claims with clear reasons and relevant. And then boom, you can leave that little bit at the bottom. Why do we write? Scholars, because we are the best to do. And let's make this let's get all of this in the blue heading. Bam, like that. So that is what your stuff will look like. Okay, so you see how I tied that video into your writing prompt. Should your school have a uniform dress code? And then writing prompt objective. If I was you, I will put, we'll see, your standards are it's like your roadmap. So you are going to go back. Where is it? I'm trying to go back. Come on. There we go. Come on. All right. So we are going to copy and paste that standard. Put it in your PowerPoint. Okay. Boom. All right. Whomever is observing you, meaning you're a teacher, but once you become a teacher, you're administrator, observer. They're always going to be looking for your standard. And then you have scholars will provide persuasive explanations, blah, blah, blah. Scholars will be writing prompts for persuade, da, 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 da. And then you have that. And so you said, let's talk about it or let's get into it. So imagine each and one of you are sitting before your school's administration staff and they are asked, should the school have a uniform? Provide a supporting answer and state why. So by the time your students watch that video and then have them probing questions like, okay, probing questions at like you or your students. So think back to when you was in high school. Did you have a uniform policy? Did what's like have a uniform policy? If not, um, did you benefit from it not having one? Like what, you know what I'm saying? Share your experience. So you become your students. Um, the pros and cons of not having a uniform, and then or the pros of having uniforms and the cons of having uniforms. So it can go both ways. So for instance, y'all could have had uniforms, but sometimes, okay, speaking from my experience, so I had a student who had uniform. I was in a uniform school, but their parents didn't go to the wash house to wash their clothes. So they either missed school because their clothes wasn't washed, or they wore their dirty uniforms to school and then they got picked on. You see what I'm saying? So it is, a bad side of. So that's, I hope I'm not being long-winded or roundabout. I'm just trying to make sure you understand and learning what you reading at the same time what you put. And then you repeat this. Okay. So this is a good pacing chart that you have, introduction, thesis, and then you can even break this down some more. Okay, your lesson, I know it's going to be 8 minutes, but by the time you're done actually making sure the student understands it, because social studies and ELA are for the most part one and the same. So I can tell what my students in my social studies class, when they're writing, it goes over their head. So you might think you will do the introduction and thesis paragraph, or basically what I'm trying to say, you might think you might go through this whole pacing guide in your one lesson for that day, but it's going to go over the student's head depending on what kind of levels of learners you have in your classroom. So you might take 10 minutes, it's say 25 or 25 minutes to explain the introduction and thesis paragraph, give them time to write, and then it'll be like a call and response. You'll call on the student, and then the student will respond to you about what they wrote and why they wrote about it. All right. And then after like 3 or 4 students, you go on to explain the explanation or argument number 2. And so by the time you get to this and the students are writing, then you probably leave. It's probably time to leave. Okay. And then your wrap up will probably be the introduction for the next day's lesson. So you see how explicit I'm going through this. So you will discuss your standard. You will introduce your standard. You will show the video. You will introduce your PowerPoint, and then you might skim through the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint, for the most part, is usually there for aesthetics. Just making sure the student, you're talking, but you have visual learners. You have something on the board behind you so the students can see. Those visual learners can see. And then you come here to this pacing guide that you have, and you can go over and say it, and you will have well over 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm pretty sure your lesson will be um, good. But this should be good enough. Again, I hope I wasn't long-winded. I'm just trying to make sure you understand what I was saying, and sorry it took so long to get back to you.